Please record. All right, here we go.
In the interim.
Ta-da. All right, there we go. That was it. That was the big to do. Good morning, Amy. I'm so glad you're here.
Hi, Virginia. How are you?
I'm really great. Really great. Getting ready to uh, go out of town. And so I'm excited to do this before I leave.
Good. And I see you are wearing a book dress.
I am. I am wearing a book dress that I gave to my daughter, Michaelin, and she returned to me and said, "Yeah, no, thanks." So it goes, even though she loves books. And which is why you agreed to talk to me today was about reading and how kids learn to read. Anyway, you've loved reading and writing for a long time.
Yeah, it's my jam.
Well, as I thought about today, I thought maybe there's not an answer. I even looked up some stuff and I read some of your stuff that you wrote and or that people wrote about what you wrote, you know. And there were some people that inspired you.
Yeah,
About,
I think I think that you're right though. There is not an answer. There's a bunch of things that have to happen because reading isn't natural. We're not hardwired to read.
well, and I thought, as I thought about it more, I thought maybe we did need to define what we're talking about when people say reading. I had a child once that had Williams syndrome, and she could decode any word put in front of her. I had her when she was in fourth grade. She could read incredible things and had absolutely no idea about any of it. Um, and I've
We
had,
also call that hyperlexia.
oh, say more about that. I know, that's a new word for me.
So hyperlexia is when kiddos can decode, they can recognize the word. They might even be able to say it out loud correctly, but they have no idea what it means.
So,
And about 30% of people with ASD on the autism spectrum also have hyperlexia.
well, and I certainly met some regular ed students that kind of tended toward this. Um, they were really good at answering. If it said that she wore a red shirt, they were really good at answering uh, that she had a red shirt on, but really couldn't tell me the motivation of why she wore that this morning or, go beyond what was written in the text.
But reading comprehension is just about having the vocabulary and background knowledge in order to make meaning out of that, right? So
Yeah.
hyperlexia is a great first step. Some kids, about 30% of students with ASD and less of neurotypical students, just are able to teach themselves basically how to read.
Well, that's where the whole language program came from,
Right.
right?
But 30%, that means that
Yeah.
for 70% of students,
Well,
that won't cut it.
it's really sad because in education, things catch on. And so, phonics was like way over here and everything was all phonics and nothing whole language. And then they go, no, you need this whole language. And then it swung back over this way and it was all whole language and the kids that couldn't pick it
California
up.
went California went back and forth between those four times between 1967 and 2008.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And my daughter was definitely a whole language gal because that would be the end goal that people would actually use this skill. Um, at least for me, that would be the end goal. As it was, I went, kids learn at their own age. You don't need to rush it. It's not a race. It will come. My daughter could read but before she hit kindergarten.
Me too.
That was you?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I don't think I learned to read until I was like fluently reading. I don't know. A long time. High school. After high school. I,
And that's true for a lot of people.
you used to be able to circumvent English in high school and not have to take English in high school. And
Really?
they put me in speech communication. And so I was debating and doing speeches and oratory and all this stuff and didn't have to read any books in high school. And so I didn't practice at all, really.
Hmm.
So, uh, but I got better as I was a teacher. I got better and better at reading.
Well, that makes sense because you were doing the building a circuit for your students and it was building your circuit too.
Well, I really think that anything we do all the time, like I've been doing toe exercises and my toes are getting better. I can now move my big toe away from my foot and I can now move my little toe away from my foot. But I've been practicing for 6 months. Perhaps
Yeah.
that's something I shouldn't share on the internet. But
No, I mean, I
anyway,
think that whatever we practice and build is becomes what we are.
yeah.
Um, the reading brain is not just one thing. It's the circuit made of a bunch of parts, and we can teach all those parts, but if we don't teach all those parts, we're going to have students who don't have a fully formed circuit of reading brain.
Well, what do you perceive as the parts that need to be taught? Or is that putting you on
So
the spot?
no, no, oral language is natural. Every culture has it. Um, when we do MRIs, like it's right here at the left temporal lobe, and yeah, it's kind of built in. But the ability to connect those language sounds to letters and then to words, um, those are the kind of the parts that have to be built, and they have to be built in pretty specific ways. And unless you're hyperlexic, right, that needs to be with direct instruction.
So you think that about 70% of the population need direct, like when you say direct instruction, are you talking like about phonics?
Mm-hmm.
And
And the research says that there is another 40%, as long as that they get some sort of phonics, they're probably okay. But there's at least 30% of the population that needs phonemic awareness, sound to letter, direct instruction, repetitive, multisensory, short, active, every day in order to be able to learn to read. And we say that those students are slow to read or struggling readers or dyslexic, but really they need help completing that circuit.
right, and that whole slow to read that irritates me because I really do feel like it's not a race. It's
It's not a race, and if they haven't received the instruction they needed, then that's on you as a teacher. That's not on them.
I speaking of things on me as a teacher, I never taught phonics because I never understood it. And it was something that I couldn't do. I have this very strong memory of being a child and Mrs. Van Ols too. I just adored. We'd be in a little semicircle and she had this huge, what I can must interpret as a phonics chart at this point, and she had a long stick and she pointed to the letter pairings, and everybody in the circle would make these sounds, and I'd think, how are they knowing what sound to make? And then they go to the next one, and how do they know what sound? I had no clue. And so I'd just be like moving my lips, pretending to know what's going on. And anyway, because I am so verbal, um, they didn't realize, I think, that I was special ed until I was graduating at 17 from high school, and they put me in a special ed class for 3 months at the end there because they thought, oh, we never taught her to read, and they and the special ed teacher was all excited. She had these like vocabulary books. It still wasn't phonics or anything, but they had these vocabulary books and they were lettered A, B, C on up. And I started in K, I think. And she goes, I've never had anybody in K before. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, so
Did anyone ever use the word dyslexic with you?
no, You mean as a kid? That it wasn't a thing back then. Before dyslexic. Oh, what was there was a buzzword.
Auditory processing disorder,
Hmm.
phonological processing disorder.
Nah, I can't remember. No, no, nobody said anything. And I think it's a credit to my parents and my teachers that I never thought I was stupid. Nobody ever laid that on my doorstep.
That
And
is because people with dyslexia aren't stupid. Like that's
oh, yeah, no. But people get, I think that there's some of that that's laid on slow processors, and that certainly wasn't laid on me. But I went back as an adult and looked at my report cards, and it's like straight C's, you know? Yeah. This is
you
just
aren't a slow processor.
what?
You aren't a slow processor.
Be that as it may. What I think what stands is what we were saying at the beginning, which is kids are such individuals. And I think a lot of times teachers use what worked in their life to share with students when they become teachers. And
Mm-hmm.
because phonics never worked for me and syntax never worked for me, flunked out of syntax at Humboldt. I never used the sentence diagramming, and I never used uh, phonics, and I never used imaging because that isn't something that worked for me. And I know now that that works for, some percentage of the kids, and I would have mixed it up a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But
some people really struggle with visualization.
yeah,
It turns out sentence diagramming doesn't work for pretty much anyone.
that doesn't surprise me. It might work out
Like,
well for foreign language teachers.
nope.
No, nobody?
Like
Okay.
actually writing and then like revising what you write seems to work way better at teaching grammar and structure.
Yes, I
That's what the
agree with
research
that.
says.
It
Yeah.
will, and that's what my personal experience says. And I
Mm-hmm.
read that you used portfolios for a long time
Mm-hmm.
in your teaching, and that's the
Yeah.
same kind of thing, right? Where you're saving stuff and they're making multiple.
Yeah. And you're conferencing, you're saying, hey, what about this kind of structure to do this? Let's try that out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and talking about their writing and what they've written,
Yeah.
and yeah, I agree. The I was at a school recently because I still sub around. I had we were working on an essay and for seventh and eighth graders, and I was saying that if you if you go to a website and you use information there, something you can do is you can copy and paste uh, the web address down in your sources so we know where stuff came from.
Mhm.
And I was really surprised that kids in seventh and eighth grade didn't know how to do Control C or Control V. That was surprising to me. And it was surprising to me that because I always think about junior high people like should be way further ahead in technology than I am. Um, they also didn't realize like the first piece generated, the AI piece in a Google search, um, isn't like a reference. Anyway, I guess that's far afield from reading, but
No, I think that that's part of literacy is that media literacy. And I think that we forget that students, we expect them to be technologically savvy, and they're not because they've been using their phones, which is are great, but don't do like Control P, right?
right.
Um, yeah,
Yeah. So anyway, I felt I had taught them a skill. I taught the kids that I thought you're going to use this again. You know, I felt
yeah,
strongly this will this will improve your life.
and yeah, the AI summary is actually often wrong. It's a don't use that.
I know. Well, I think one of the best examples is that you ask something about elephants and it will include fictional information about elephants from or could possibly.
Hmm.
You just don't know.
You
Uh,
don't. No,
yeah.
the
So,
AI
but
summary is not so great.
yeah, but in terms of learning to read, do you think that it's still it's still a good idea to read out loud all the time to kids, right? Isn't that?
Well, yes, I think that every age, every grade should probably be read out loud too. We don't just need
Yeah.
word recognition, we also need that language comprehension, the way, the vocabulary, the structure, the background knowledge, all of that's happening, hearing what fluent reading sounds like. All of that happens when you're read to. So that's one of the things that needs to happen in order for kiddos to be readers. They also
Well,
need to be taught phonemic awareness and phonics.
yeah.
And I
And
know you didn't have a situation that works for you, but imagine how much earlier you would have read if someone had noticed and helped.
oh yeah, I did a stint for a special ed teacher and used the phonics program. I don't remember which one it was. For 4 months. And I thought, boy, what this combination of letters. But of course now I can intellectualize it. But I thought, boy, this would have been really helpful.
Mm,
This information, I could have used this.
yep.
Uh, yeah. No, basically all my words were sight words, and and that is still my default when I'm learning something. But that sounding out multisyllabic words, that's a tough one for
Yeah.
me and for kids.
People that are neurobiologically wired for dyslexia tend to be really good problem solvers, really good at games, learning rules and strategy, and 3D spatial reasoning, which I happen to know that you're good at all those things. Um,
Why, thank
um,
you.
but it makes it so that the way to teach them to read is to teach them the rules of sounds and letters.
So when people are homeschooling their kids, do you see a lot of that kind of support? Or do you see more of that support in parochial schools or public schools? Do you think educators across the board are getting that message?
I know there's a real push in public schools, um, both in California and nationwide. Um, the dyslexia advocates have really pushed that being basic knowledge. California has put it in the teacher standards, and this year, all kindergarten, first graders, and second graders will be screened for dyslexia in California.
So what's the advantage to be screened for dyslexia?
Well, we can find out when little kiddos are faking knowing their sounds.
Oh yeah, okay.
And then in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and we can make sure they get extra practice with that phonemic awareness and phonics, and it kind of rewires that that brain, um, so that they are making sound connections here and letter connections here when they're right next to each other, instead of students who are at risk of dyslexia often process letter shapes over here. Um, while the sound is being processed here, and that has to cross the corpus callosum, and that's not a very efficient way to learn to read.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it turns out,
Huh.
and it's pretty good. We have some pretty good ways to predict kindergarten, first graders, second graders, um, that they're going to be struggling with reading, and a lot of that is that phonological processing. Is can they remember sounds and orders? Can they pair sounds and letters? Can they rapid automatic naming? We know that that's a good predictor for students who will be identified as dyslexic in fourth and fifth grade.
Well, so does practicing in the area of weakness strengthen it?
Yes.
So doing the things that you just said,
Yep.
I was unable to hang on to even one thing you said. Say one thing that you'd practice with little kids.
Um, Phonological manipulation, so phonemic manipulation. So thinking about the sounds in order and then swapping out substitution deletion of those sounds
Can you
is one of the things.
show me? I'll
Yeah,
be
I
a
can totally give you an
kindergartner. I'm
example.
like all about it.
Yeah. Okay. So sun. I have the word sun.
Sun,
Un.
un,
Sun. Sun.
un,
Un.
sun,
Sun. If
un.
I replace the s sound with the f sound, what's the new word?
Oh, uh,
Unfun.
okay. And
That's
getting movement in there. But that hooks up to a different part of the brain as well, right?
yeah, but it all
Yeah,
reinforces that neural pathway
yeah,
that we're trying to build. And it's
yeah.
so being neurobiologically wired for dyslexia, that goes across languages. So a lot of this good research is coming from Sweden. So, yeah, dyslexia happens everywhere. And
Yeah.
um, what what they can find is that students who are neurobiologically wired for dyslexia, when they read, like their brain is lighting up in all these places. And people who are efficient and effective readers, their brain is lighting up right here. Um, and if you find kiddos who are at risk for dyslexia and you really help them with that phonemic manipulation, and yeah, using our bodies, making it whole body, making it multisensory, then you go back and you scan them 6 months later and they're processing words of fear.
Wow.
So
Wow.
like we're teaching teachers how to do brain surgery,
Well,
sort of,
so, wow.
without cutting anything open.
Yeah. That's good. Um, what, well, where does spelling fall into all this?
Spelling is part of that. So we can teach spelling as there's only 250 spelling patterns. I mean, I know it sounds like a lot, but some of those are just letters, right? Like V makes the V sound. Um, yeah, there are 250 spelling patterns, and if we teach kiddos them from most common spelling pattern to least common spelling pattern, that's 98% of words in English.
Do you find that good readers are good spellers? Is that a correlation? Or
There is a
are
correlation
dyslexic
between
people
good,
not good spellers?
yeah, dyslexic people with dyslexia are not good spellers
I
in
mean, until
general.
intervention, or
Right.
yeah,
And then we do find that good spellers are good readers. Oddly enough, you can also be a not great speller and a good reader.
yeah.
It's interesting.
You were talking about the shapes and so forth
Hmm.
stored on one side of the brain, and I was remembering
Process.
this spelling activity that was promoted, I think by San Diego. But you would print the word in manuscript and then box it, draw the outline of it, and so that you'd get the pattern of what it looked like. And so that's kind of flying in the face of what you're saying in terms of being
Yeah, but
helpful.
that's been disproven. Like that's not proven to be effective. We've tried lots of things in literacy that weren't effective. And that sort of like outlining the words as a sight word strategy has been proven to not be effective.
What are do things that aren't effective that people suffer through are very interesting. Do you care to
Yeah,
give
there's a
any
lot of
other
those.
examples?
Oh yeah, three queuing where um people for a while taught kids not to like read every letter. Just go ahead and look at the picture and guess what the word might be. Look at the first letter, get your mouth ready, and just think of what the word might be with that sound. Just look at the last letter and think of how it might end. That three Q guessing is actually linked with poor reading in later years. It actually makes poor readers because that's the kind of guessing that adult readers do. Well, that's a problem when you're 15 and your history textbook doesn't have any pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
I could
So
see how
the
that wouldn't be very effective.
so
I
that
remember I remember that passing through. That was never something I utilized
yeah.
because it didn't make sense to me. But
No, it doesn't. It and but you know what? I go into classrooms all the time and I see books that are built on that model. You
wow.
know, I like, and then it's got a picture of a drum. I like drums, is what the child is supposed to say. I like ice cream. It's got a picture of ice cream.
Oh, I've seen those. Yes, I've
Yeah,
seen
and
those
they just
word
encourage the
books.
child to
Yeah.
guess and
Yeah.
not look at the letters.
Huh. The thing that I found really worked with students was repetition.
Mhm.
And I'd have I think a thing that kills reading, and I still see teachers implementing this, and it makes me crazy, is when they do like a round robin reading with 30 children. It's like, not only are the kids listening to poor readers read,
Right.
which
You got to
is,
listen to fluent readers,
yeah,
not
you
the.
gotta listen to good readers read. And then
Mhm.
people, oh God, I can't
Well,
believe
and it
people are
makes
still
people
doing
really
that.
anxious, and they're so focused on what they're going to have to read that they don't have any comprehension from what the other kids are saying.
Yeah,
Like the research shows over and over again that
that
popcorn
doesn't
round
work.
robin reading does not work.
Yeah, but I don't know. Uh, anyway, but people still use it. I used to do a round robin reading with like four kids in a reading group. We'd be reading a novel, and I really found that, and we would read a paragraph at a time, and I would assign the paragraphs, and I got so I was very quick at it. I probably wouldn't be now, but um, and the kids that struggle with reading always got the short paragraphs, like the one-liners or the one sentence, and then something would happen. If somebody needed to practice something, I'd say I'd get distracted. I was, oh, I'm sorry. Could you reread that? And sometimes I'd drop a pencil, and I said, I mean, these people must have thought I was just an imbecile. But a lot of times they'd reread a sentence until they could read it with enthusiasm, and it sounded good. They really had it. I found that over time, daily reading practice in small groups, um, I always got at least a year's growth from kids. I know it's impractical in some places, but man, just practice for an hour. We'd read for an hour, and the kinds of things that you're saying, just because we were doing it every day, that nervousness about it's my turn, I felt like that fell away. You had to work through it, but that pretty
I think
much
that's
fell
why
away.
readers theater works so well.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, whether the child's got a script and they have to read their part, and it's important to the whole, right?
right. Yes,
And they're
Reader's
reading the
Theater,
same
another great
sentences
one.
over again and thinking about how to enunciate it. Like there's so much good evidence that readers theater improves fluency.
Right. And plays too, for the same reason that
Yeah.
you're rereading it, rereading it, rereading it. Are there things about reading that you want to put out there that we didn't talk about?
There's not one thing that you could do in a classroom to fix reading. It's really hard to teach reading at home by yourself if you are untrained. So I always am nervous about people who are unschooling or homeschooling and are going to teach their kids to read. Like maybe do some research. Um,
Yeah. The
I know we
well,
think of it as kind of basic, but reading is actually learning to read is pretty complicated. And it's something that I think all of our schools should actually deliver on.
yeah. Well, and not just the basics, not just being able to sound out words and understand the meaning of a particular word, but the whole comprehension and the inferences
I
and
don't think we
and
can teach inference. I mean, I think that there's been so much good research, like the baseball study, that suggests that if we can teach text structure, we can teach background knowledge, we can teach vocabulary. We can't really teach inference. They don't know what they don't know.
wait, well, maybe I'm not using that right. Like I used to watch movies. My husband and I would go to a movie theater and we'd see a movie. And on the way home, I'd be saying, "Why do you think so and so did whatever?" And I'd be pushing on and really thinking about why would that character have manifest that in their life or choose make those decisions. And Mike, he goes, it was a movie. It was in the script. That's why they did it. Like what? Um, y- so that's what I'm talking about thinking about why characters are motivated to do stuff. Maybe I'm using the word inference
No, no,
wrong.
no. That's totally what inference means. I just think that kids struggle with inference because they don't have the life knowledge, the background knowledge to guess that. And so we can't teach inference. We can talk them through background knowledge, but we can't. Inference is making a connection to something that they don't have necessarily the life experience for.
Now, are you talking K-12? Are you talking through college? What are you?
Yeah,
So, you don't think that we can teach them to have questions about what they read? No,
we
that's
can,
not
of
what you're
course,
saying.
teach them to have questions about what they read, but they're not going to guess the right thing in inference if they haven't experienced it or if they don't have
Oh,
background knowledge about it.
I don't assume that there's a right thing.
Oh, no, I mean, like, there's obvious inferences in like children's literature where like you're supposed to realize, oh, that child is sad and that's why they're crying. Um,
Oh,
and,
okay.
or that child is homesick and that's why they're crying. Maybe the child reading it has never experienced homesickness. Like, how would they know if
Oh,
they
okay.
have never had it explained to them what homesickness is and they've never experienced it?
Okay. I can see that. But some of the bigger questions as kids get older and junior high and high school or college, about what things might mean, I don't think there's necessarily a
No, I
right
think we should
answer.
teach kids to question. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
agree with you. We should totally question all the time. When I see teachers trying to teach inference to little kids, it's oftentimes things that they just don't know. They haven't experienced yet.
My favorite special ed teacher ever that I had a chance to work with for a long time, she was really good about, and got even better through her career, um, about giving background information,
Mhm,
about providing background to go along with
mhm.
stories and so forth, like you're saying.
I also think that it's a big pre-teaching the vocabulary whenever we're going to teach something is huge because if we
Yes,
pre-teach the vocabulary, everybody can get something out of the reading instead of only the kiddos who knew the vocabulary ahead of time.
yes. Well, you experienced this, I'm sure, like at your high schools, um, that especially with your general ed classes, that even with teaching the vocabulary ahead of time, there's still going to be vocabulary within the text that they're not going to know.
Yeah. And everybody doesn't know something, right?
Right.
We all come with a different vocabulary list to school. We know
That's right.
different things from growing up in the families we grew up in. So,
Boy, isn't that the truth?
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was so excited that you said that you'd come and talk about reading today. And I don't know that we covered it in any kind of linear fashion, but
Well,
such is
and it's
life.
such a big topic. Like all we did was just sort of brush it.
Yeah.
But
I um I have another friend that's an excellent teacher, and she taught mostly of fourth and fifth grade. Uh, and then she went to another school district and she taught all the ESL kids, the
mhm.
second language kids. And I know she wanted to be here today to join in and talk about it. And if she's free at some time in the future, might you come on and
Sure,
extend this conversation?
sure.
Yeah.
I'm a big Virginia fan, so
Oh, bless your heart. Okay. Well, let's do a goodbye, and then I want to talk to you for a minute.
all
So,
right. Bye,
thanks for
Virginia.
coming. Bye,
Bye,
Amy.
Virginia. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you bet.